Young genius takes a shot at Stephen Hawking's God theory with a bold new hypothesis. The origins of life and the universe have long intrigued humanity, sparking debate among scientists, philosophers, and theologians. While science offers evidence, faith still comforts many, setting the stage for William Maillis's unique perspective. Stephen Hawking, a renowned physicist identified as an atheist believing science, offers a more convincing explanation of the universe than a divine creator. He clarified that understanding the universe means knowing what God would know, if God existed. His view, however, remains widely debated. At just 11, prodigy William Maillis challenges Stephen Hawking's views on God and the universe, confidently aiming to prove his own hypothesis through scientific reasoning. William Maillis agrees the universe began 13.8 billion years ago from a singularity, aligning with mainstream cosmology, but he challenges the idea that it could exist without an external force. William Maillis aims to become an astrophysicist to prove scientifically that God exists. In an interview with HCHC Media, he expressed his goal to challenge the scientific status quo with faith-backed research. William Maillis offers a fresh take on the science-religion debate, challenging the notion that science has all the answers. Though lacking empirical proof for now, his academic journey is closely watched as he aims to reshape views on the cosmos and the divine.
Shalom. First, let's start off by giving all great honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakadash. Double honor to teachers, elders, and apostles of great millstone, likewise, brothers, but not this truth. Faithfully, fearlessly feeding the sheep and dear brothers and sisters. Tuning in, Shalom. Today's lesson's title, F. Esau's Pseudo signs. The wrath of the Lamb will make everyone a believer. Now, you saw in that opening clip, Esau, they're at it again. Many of you who've probably had any type of science subject in school, you've heard of Stephen Hawking. Okay, we've seen this paralyzed piece of shit, in the wheelchair that everyone, claims is a genius, who is also an atheist. He doesn't believe in the Lord Yahushai or any power above the so-called white man. Okay, talk about, his beliefs and how the heavens and earths were created. Now Esau, he's thrown a little bit, he's a little slick. So now he has an 11-year-old that's challenging Stephen Hawking's, theories or whatever type of quantum science he's come up with. And this little 11-year-old is saying that, the universe was not created by accident, and he wants to prove that there's a higher power. Okay. So this is just another attempt, and as you saw, the images that they showed, was of, their version of the power and Mashiach, okay, who the word when he called Jesus, okay, and faith-based and all that stuff. It still is riddled with white supremacy if you look at it, but what they've come up with right now is, this is another attempt of the devil, okay, to confuse the people on the earth, okay, but it's very simple, okay. Your science is complete and utter bullshit. This is the book of Revelation 11, and starting verse 8, it reads, "And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. And they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. And they that dwell upon the earth shall rejoice over them and make merry, and shall send gifts to one another, because these two prophets tormented them that dwell on the earth. And after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life and power entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them." And who is it speaking about? Us. Okay, us. We are the two witnesses that the Bible speaks of. Okay, we are testifying against the wickedness of Esau, the Edomite, the so-called white man. Okay. And while we're in sleep, the world rejoices. The world rejoices of us being niggers and spicks and wetbacks and tontos and just entertaining them, not knowing who we are. But guess what? The Spirit of the Lord Yahweh Shemashai is in us. And what you have now, okay, is this prophecy being preached on the unicorn and on the street corners of America and across this earth in regard to the fall of the evil, wicked white man, okay, and the setup of the heavenly kingdom by the Mashiach when he returns in power and glory. And they don't like it. So right now they're trying to come up with a confusing, antidote to what's taking place on this earth, which is that millions of Hebrew Israelites are being awakened to this truth. Some are going to wake up to accept it, and some are going to wake up to reject it. But it doesn't matter. Okay, let's go to the book of 1 Corinthians 1 and start verse 25, because we don't need an 11-year-old little punk, okay, to prove that Yahweh Shema Shai exists. Okay, the gunging of these motherfuckers, man. It says, because the foolishness of power is wiser than man, and the weakness of power is stronger than man. For ye see your calling, brethren, how that not many wise men after the flesh, not many mighty, nor many noble are called. The Lord Yahweh Shema Shai didn't call these men. He didn't call the 11-year-old. You don't need him to prove anything. Okay, let's see the type of man that the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai is calling to prove his existence. Okay, and be the herald of the coming of the Son of Man. Okay, the Savior, the Hamashiach. But power had chosen the foolish things of the world to confound the wise, and power had chosen the weak things of the world to confound the things which are mighty, and the base things of the world and the things which are despised had power chosen, yea, and things which are not, to bring to naught things that are. So who is that describing? Us. The most despised men on this earth are the so-called black men here in Great Babylon, America, the Negroes, okay, the true biblical Jews. We are the most despised. You see, the brothers, we have come to term to that, okay? We don't give a crap. Because again, when you look at the last part of that last verse I read, it says, and power had chosen the weak things of the world, because we don't have any might in our hand, to confound the things which are mighty. People like Stephen Hawkins and this 11-year-old kid that graduated college at the age of 13. Okay, they're considered mighty. Okay, people are like, wow, genius. They have titles like genius and all knowing. And the base things, we are the base things currently right now because we're not in an exalted state. And things which are despised, we're despised, had power chosen, yet things which are not, to bring to things which are. So we have the posters and we bring out the scriptures that talk about what? The downfall, okay, of the so-called white man kingdom. Now, the universe was created by who? Yahweh Shema Shai. He gave the authority to the Son, okay, who used the heavenly host to create the universe. Okay, let's talk about this, okay? This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 10, start verse 10, it reads, but the Lord, Yahweh Shema Shai, is the true power. He is the living power and everlasting King. At his wrath, the earth shall tremble, and the nation shall not be able to abide his indignation. So nobody can stand up to the Most High Yahweh Shema Shai. Thus shall ye say unto them, the gods, lowercase, that have not made the heavens and the earth, even they shall perish from the earth and from under these heavens. Okay? So people like Stephen Hawkins and even this little 10-year-old guy who's gonna, if the world was to, or the so-called white man was to continue his rulership for the next 30 or 40 or 100 years, he would be considered to be a god because he's smart and he's going to go prove that Jesus and the white God, the white man power does exist, which he has no power, which the white man power has no power. Let's continue. And it says, he had made the earth by his power. He had established the world by his wisdom, and has stretched out the heavens by his discretion, which they always talk about, this expanding universe that they can't find the end to it. When he uttered his voice, there's a multitude of waters in the heavens, and he causeth the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He maketh lightnings with rain, and bringeth forth the wind out of his treasures. Now, he saw them, they do have the technology to create or manipulate weather, but they had to get that idea from something that already exists. They wouldn't know about lightning or creating, storms, with their machines if it had not been existed. So there had to be a natural one that was in place first for Esau them to come up with an artificial version of it. It says, every man is brutish in his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image, for his molten image is falsehood, and there's no breath in them. Yes, the technology is going to go up. They're going to have their AI, and we're going to go into another clip that's going to go into that, because as Stephen Hawking's guy is talking about, he knows how the world is going to end. No, he doesn't. Okay? No, he doesn't. Right now, we are in the world that is ruled by the so-called white man, because it is given to him. He's given all authority to rule this earth, okay, and that is for a purpose. It says, they are vanity and the works of errors. In the time of their visitation, they shall perish. The portion of Jacob, 12 tribe of Israel, which the despised men that have been risen up, okay, were those ones that were sleeping, okay, in the dust, and now been waking to this truth, okay, prophesying, okay. We're part of Jacob, part of the 12 tribe of Israel. The portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the form of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. The Lord of hosts, Yahweh Shemashai, is his name. We have an inheritance to get. Continuing on, let's go into John 1 and start verse 1. It reads, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with power, and the Word was power. The same was in the beginning with power. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. So you have dust, okay? And see, the Lord is righteous in his judgment. Look at this doggone peckerwood piece of shit in his doggone wheelchair. You can't even drink a cup of coffee on his own. Okay, but the people are looking at him like he's some renowned something. Great, this man can't even change his own underwear when he's shitting it. I mean, come on. All right? The Lord Yahweh Shemashai created all of this. Okay, let's go to Colossians 1 and start verse 16. It says, for by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or power. All things were created by him and for him, and he is before all things, and by him all things consist. Okay? I had just read in John 1, starting with verse 1, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with power, and the Word was power. Okay? You have the Mashiach that was in the beginning. He's the first created. Okay? And it just talked about this in Colossians, where all things were created by him, for him. And without him, things weren't created. So the Lord Yahweh Shemashai, the Almighty, the Most High, gave his Son the authority to do the creation. Okay? And after each successive creation, okay, he said, it's good. Move on to the next stage. Move on to the next stage. Move on to the next stage. Okay? Let's go into 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and starting with verse 1. Okay?
Every generation has a few truly exceptional minds, and Stephen Hawking was one of the most brilliant we had to offer. When he passed away in 2018, the world lost one of the few people who probably could have thought of a way out of the mess that we've made of the world. But he may have left us one last gift, and that's a warning that the end is nigh. This is what he thought was going to happen. Just a few weeks before he died, he released a paper called A Smooth Exit from Eternal Inflation, and it's a strangely beautiful look at how he believed the universe began, grew, and will finally end. It's abstract and complicated stuff that even most scientists don't understand, and dissecting what it's all about isn't easy. At the heart of the matter is this. Stephen Hawking and paper co-author Thomas Hertog essentially speculate the end of the universe will be something of a relatively smooth transition into the after, and cosmologist Andre Linde translated a bit of the heaviest stuff like this. They argue that the end of eternal inflation, the expansion of the universe, may occur in a smooth way, and the variety of the possible outcomes is limited. That's vague and a sort of anticlimactic end to the universe, but there's a good chance no one on Earth will be around to see it. When it comes to the end of our own world, however, Hawking made some incredibly dire predictions about it. Wired asked him about the relentless march toward developing artificial intelligence, and he warned it might mean the end of mankind in a way that we've long thought of as being science fiction. The genie is out of the bottle. We need to be mindful of its very real dangers. I fear that AI may replace humans altogether. Someone will design AI that replicates itself. This will be a new form of life that will outperform humans. Speaking at a summit in Portugal in 2017, he warned that the rise of AI had the potential to be incredibly dangerous. He's spoken about it for years, and in 2014 told John Oliver,
Earth artificial intelligence could be a real danger in the not-too-distant future. It could design improvements to itself, announced Esau.
He foresaw not just autonomous robots, but autonomous weapons, too. And when one of the most brilliant minds in the world warns that science fiction might become science fact, the rest of the species should probably listen.
Why should I not be excited about fighting a robot?
You would lose.
Well,
he's also suggested we're in danger of destroying ourselves before we even get that far, and in 2017, he talked to the BBC about how we're doing it. A huge part of our mistakes involve climate change, and he cited U.S. President Donald Trump's decision to withdraw America from the Paris Agreement as particularly worrying. He said, "We are close to the tipping point where global warming becomes irreversible. Trump's action could push Earth over the brink, and by pulling out of the Paris Climate Agreement, Donald Trump will cause unavoidable environmental damage to our beautiful planet, endangering the natural world for us and our children." Hawking was absolutely not kidding around, and when he spoke at the Starmus 4 Festival in 2017, he stressed how important it was that we find a way to colonize other planets if we want the human race to survive. Only the previous year, Hawking predicted that mankind had only about 1,000 years before the planet became incapable of supporting human life, and we needed to find a new place to live pretty pronto. At the time, he was optimistic that mankind would get its act together, but by 2017 he revised his time frame to a mere 100 years. Some might be able to agree it was a rough year, but that rough? Hawking also made some other comments in 2017 that got almost just as much attention. At the Tencent We Summit, he predicted overpopulation and the subsequent energy consumption were going to get to an unsustainable point in just 600 years, give or take. Put it all together and he paints a pretty dire picture of our world's future if things continue in the direction they're going. Overpopulation, climate change, energy consumption, artificial intelligence leading to a major war against machines, those are all things humans are doing to ruin the planet. But Hawking has also said there's the chance the end of the world is going to come from something well beyond the control of any human. During his talk at the BBC's 2016 Wreath Lectures, he warned, although the chance of a disaster to planet Earth in a given year may be quite low, it adds up over time and becomes a near certainty in the next 1,000 or 10,000 years.
And it reads, "And he said unto me in the beginning, when earth was made, before the borders of the world stood, or ever the winds blew, before it thundered and lightened, or ever the foundations of paradise were laid, before the fair flowers were seen, or ever the movable powers were established, before the innumerable multitude of angels were gathered together, or ever the heights of the air were lifted up, before the measures of the firmament were named, or ever the chimneys in Zion were hot, and ere the present years were sought out, or ever the inventions of them that now sin were turned, before they were sealed that have gathered faith for a treasure, then did I consider these things, and they were all made through me alone, and through none other. By me also they shall be ended, and by none other." See that? So before all the inventions you see, before the telescope and all these satellites and all these things and all the science and all this stuff was coming about. I mean, and these stuff came about after the multitude of angels were created. Okay? So this is new. Before all of this, he's saying basically he considered all of these things, meaning that this is a thought process that was put into it. So it's a being of intelligence beyond our feeble mind is able to understand. This is happened by no coincidence. We don't need this little 11-year-old snot to talk about that, or this sickly old cracker sitting in a doggone wheelchair, okay, talking about his theory on creation and stuff like that. What a laughable sack of shit. I hate this. I hate these motherfuckers, man. Then answered I and said, What shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that follow? And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. We always was going to take it. We're still going to take it. Okay, the Mashiach is going to return. He's going to tear your ass up, you damn worthless shitbags, crackers. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follow. So there's your answer, Mr. What's his name there? Stephen Hawkins. That's how the world is going to end. That's how Esau's world is going to end. Okay? Yours is going to end, ours is going to follow, which is an everlasting kingdom, okay, under the rulership of the Mashiach. Let's go to Psalms 10 And start verse 3 reads, For the wicked boasted of his heart's desire, and blessed the covetous, whom the Lord Yahweh Shemashai abhorred. So the Lord hates wickedness, faggots, sodomites, all those things. All things that Esau like, the so-called white man like and praise, the Lord Yahweh Shemashai hates. Okay? He hates all of it. The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after power. Power is not in all his thoughts, because the Lord Yahweh Shemashai gave him the ability to seek out answers and look at the universe and ponder on things like that. And because he can't come up with the answer as to how things were done, he come up and say, well, it just happens and occur by accident. So he doesn't want to give praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shem Yahushai or the Mashiach. And he don't want to consider the people that were chosen by the Lord as his favorite people. He don't like it. Okay, let's close up the book of Romans, because this is what you doggone Edomites better get used to. You're going to have to, and all the rest of you doggone tribes that like to follow the so-called white man's ideology, okay, his pseudoscience. For it is written, as I live, said the Lord, every knee shall bow to me, and every tongue shall confess to power. You see how that works? Okay? So at the conclusion of your world, Esau, you're right. Your world is going to come to an end. Okay, under extreme duress and violence from the Mashiach when he returns. And then you will bow the knees, along with every other living thing on this earth will bow to the Mashiach. And you will confess Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai in your stinking little mouths. Okay? So, again, F. Esau pseudoscience, the wrath of the Lamb, when he returns, will make everyone a believer. Lord willing, the like was edified, that goes by giving all glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Shalom.